Alright gang, we're going to get back to the scratch removal videos. We're going to finish up the 2017 Nissan Murano. This is going to be the third and final installment. We fixed the first two cluster of scratches. The last cluster is probably the worst. Right under the headlight, starting on the rubber bumper, extending back through the seam where the bumper meets the fender, and all the way back through a character line above the wheel well. And the scratch is deep, not through the clear, but there are three scratches kind of intertwined, and they're rather deep. So there is some defined orange peel texture to the surface. So we don't want to sand that away. That will draw more attention to the area. So we're just going to sand, we're going to wet sand with 1 grit sandpaper, jump to a 2-step correction after that with compound, and finish it up. Let's get it done. Okay gang, this is what we're going to be working on today. It's quite deep, but not through the clear coat, so we'll be able to remove this completely. Starting off with masking the area, we're going to mask right below the scratch at the seam between the bumper and the fender. We will mask off the trim and also the headlight. The scratch starts on the bumper at the top corner right below the headlight, so we'll mask right below that. Okay, so I have two different types of discs that are both 2500 grit that we're going to use for the pneumatic here. The first one is going to be a non-foam backing. It's just the sandpaper with hook and loop on the back of it, and it's for an aggressive, real tight sanding approach. This disc is precise, it's quick. We're going to use it to cut down through the scratches, and we're going to move on to the foam 2500 grit disc to work on the contour, the edge of the contour, and also both sides of the edges at the seam where the bumper meets the fender, right below the headlight. You can absolutely just put on the foam backed sanding disc and get it done easily, but I have more scheduled today, and this is the third cluster of scratches I'm repairing, so I kind of want to get done as quick as I can, be efficient, be profitable, so this is the path I choose to take. We're already cutting down pretty good, but I see there's a couple more spots left as the water's drying off the sanded area, so we're going to go back and we're going to hit those and finish that off, and then we'll swap discs. Normally I show you the 1000, 3000, 5000 grit step off for wet sanding, but as you gain experience you will also gain understanding of what shortcuts to take and when. That only comes with experience. When working on a tight schedule, cutting off minutes and even mere seconds can become important throughout the day. So as you gain experience, you'll be able to figure out shortcuts, safe shortcuts to take, quicker routes to get to the end result. So now we swapped out the pads. We still have the 2500 grit, but it's now on a foam backed disc, which has a lot more give when it's combined with the foam backing plate of the tool itself. So when you're working on contoured areas or this character line here above the wheel well, you can glide over the peak and not have much of a problem. I'm working both sides of the peak, and then I'm going to slide over and grab that scratch that's right on top of the bumper where it meets the seam of the fender. Speed with this tool is going to be at its minimum. There's no dial on here, so I have to use either the lever or my finger to kind of keep a constant speed, but it's going to be low and pressure is going to be light. Even though the air coming off the wall is turned down to somewhere around 80-90 pounds, it would still be way too powerful if I just held the trigger full throttle. Okay, let's clean off the residue, take a look at it, and see if we're ready to move on to the next step. And actually, I still see areas, 2 or 3 areas, that still need a little bit more work, so I'm going to go back and quickly hit them. It's better to stop your work early after a pass or two and double check and see how much further you have to go than it is to go too far and take too much of the clear coat off. I want to bring you in and show you what it looks like at this stage of the correction. This tells me it's time to move on to the next step. There are still trace amounts of the scratch left, but the next step is going to eliminate them the rest of the way, and it should look pretty good. Okay, we're moving on. We're going to grab the 3-inch Griot's Garage polisher. I'm going to grab the orange foam cutting pad. We're going to use the Cupion 6.0 heavy cut cream, and we're going to get it ready for the last step, which will be an ultra fine cutting cream. Now what we're doing here is we're removing these scratches from the 2500 grit sandpaper, and I know through experience that that also in the same process is going to remove the remaining traces of the scratch, whatever is left over of it. So we're kind of killing 2 birds with 1 stone, and we're going to save as much texture to the clear coat as possible. Like I said, it has orange peel texture to the surface, so we want to keep as much as that as possible to keep it looking natural when it's done. Pressure on the tool is minimum. As you can see, I'm just kind of using my hands to cradle it and guide it back and forth. I'm letting the pad and the cutting cream do the work. Now to point out, right over here at the corner, tilt your tool up so you're not catching pieces of the tape, of the duct tape, and then dragging it back over to the surface you just worked, because it's going to scratch it again, and you have to start the whole process over from the cutting compound. The heavy cutting cream is complete. It's broken down. It's done its work. We're going to clean off the pad, compressed air, or a brush, and we'll apply the ultra fine cutting cream, and we'll remove the tape. We'll make the area larger to blend it in, and we're going to finish the job up. We're going to complete the blending process by extending the work area on either side from the last step by about 3 or 4 inches. I think that's going to do it, but let's remove the residue. We'll come in and take a look. We'll make sure, and if it's good, we're going to pick out some protection. Okay, so as you can see here, the scratches are gone, and just like the other 3 areas, the other 3 clusters, we removed them without removing texture, so it looks natural. So the customer will be happy. He's going to get his new SUV back again. Hardly has any miles on it. So I'm going to grab a good sealant, some good protection, and I'll let you guys go ahead and enjoy the rest of your evening. I thank you all for coming along for the ride here. Alright gang, that job's done. It's out the door. Time to move on. There's much more work to do. If you have any questions whatsoever on the tools or the process today, don't hesitate to ask. Brian from Apex Detail. Catch you in the next video.